Somewhere on a desk, on a refrigerator door, on the edge of a computer screen, there is a tiny square of paper. It holds a grocery list, a phone number, a single word someone didn't want to forget. It costs almost nothing. It weighs almost nothing. And yet, this small, unassuming object changed the way humanity thinks, organizes, communicates, and creates. But here is what almost nobody knows. It was never supposed to exist. It was, by every measure of the corporate world, a catastrophic failure, a mistake so embarrassing that the man who made it kept quiet about it for years. This is the story of how an accident became an icon, how a worthless glue became the most important glue in history, and how the world almost never got the chance to hold it. The year is 1968. America is in turmoil. Assassinations, Vietnam, a culture fracturing at its seams. Inside a quiet laboratory at the 3M Company in St. Paul, Minnesota, a chemist named Dr. Spencer Silver is trying to do something extraordinary. He is attempting to develop a super strong adhesive, the kind that could bond aircraft parts together, the kind that could hold the modern world in place. What he creates instead is the exact opposite. The compound Silver synthesizes, a polymer made of tiny pressure-sensitive acrylic microspheres, is, by adhesive standards, a spectacular disappointment. It sticks to surfaces, yes, but it doesn't bond permanently. It peels away cleanly. It leaves no residue. In the language of chemistry, it is described as a low-tack, repositionable adhesive. Language of a corporate laboratory trying to justify research budgets is something far less flattering. It is a failure. Silver himself is not discouraged. He is, if anything, genuinely fascinated by what he has made. He spends the next 5 years championing this glue inside 3M, giving internal seminars, passing samples around, asking anyone who will listen, does this solve a problem we have? The answer, again and again, is no. The glue that sticks without really sticking has no market, no application, no future. And so it sits, a mistake, bottled and shelved. 4 years pass. A man named Art Fry sits in a church choir in North St. Paul. Every Sunday, the bookmarks he places inside his hymn book slide out at the worst possible moment, just as the organ swells, just as the congregation rises to sing. It is a tiny, trivial annoyance, the kind of problem nobody writes papers about. But Art Fry is also a 3M engineer who attended one of Spencer Silver's seminars, and somewhere in the architecture of his mind, an idea is forming. What if he coated the edge of a bookmark with Silver's useless glue? It would hold the page in place, and when the service ended, it would peel away cleanly, leaving no damage. The elegance of this solution is difficult to overstate. For 5 years, a solution had been wandering the halls of 3M, looking for a problem. And then, in the silence of a Sunday morning choir practice, the problem found the solution. Fry begins experimenting in his home basement with strips of paper coated in Silver's adhesive. But what happens next is the part of the story that even most historians overlook. When Fry sends a note to his supervisor using one of his prototype strips, his supervisor writes a reply on the same strip and sends it back. And in that moment, that accidental, unremarkable exchange, the Post-it note is born not as a bookmark, but as a communication device, a new form of human expression. To understand why the Post-it note survived when so many inventions die on the laboratory floor, you have to understand something about the prehistory of human memory. For tens of thousands of years, human beings have been desperate to externalize thought. Cave paintings in Lascaux were, in a sense, the first sticky notes, a way of saying, remember this. Egyptian scribes used papyrus. Medieval monks illuminated manuscripts. Every era of human civilization has produced a technology for the same primal need. Don't forget this. Keep this. Hold this outside your own fragile mind.
The Post-it note arrived at the exact moment in history when human life was becoming overwhelmingly complex. The 1970s and early 1980s saw the explosion of office culture, the rise of corporate bureaucracy, the avalanche of paper and process that came with managing a modern economy. The average office worker was drowning, desks were chaos, meetings produced decisions nobody remembered. The Post-it note didn't just solve a practical problem, it answered an evolutionary cry. But 3M's marketing department almost killed it before the world heard that cry answered. The first test market in 1977 in 4 American cities was a disaster. Consumers didn't understand what they were buying. A pad of paper that sticks? Why not just use tape? Sales were dismal. The project was nearly canceled. Then, in a moment of inspired desperation, 3M tried something different. They gave the product away for free in Boise, Idaho, and 90% of the people who tried them said they would buy more. When you hold it, when you use it, when you feel the clean, satisfying peel, the product sells itself. The mistake needed to be experienced to be believed. By 1980, Post-it notes were available nationwide. By 1981, they had crossed the Atlantic to Europe and Canada. Within a decade, they were in 100 countries, available in over 600 variations, generating hundreds of millions of dollars annually. Spencer Silver's failed glue had become one of the best-selling office products in the history of the world. Scientists who have studied the chemistry of Silver's adhesive describe it with something approaching reverence. The secret lies in those microscopic acrylic spheres, each one a tiny, perfect ball of polymer, each one making contact with a surface at only a single point. They do not bond chemically, they bond physically through van der Waals forces, the same weak molecular attraction that allows a gecko to walk up a wall. The adhesive is in a sense alive with restlessness. It holds, but it is always ready to let go. Researchers at MIT and various European materials science institutions have spent years studying repositionable adhesives, a field that Silver's accident essentially created. The technology has since been applied in surgical tape that doesn't damage fragile skin, in aerospace applications where temporary bonding is critical, in protective films for electronics manufacturing. What began as a bookmark in a choir loft now lives inside hospitals, space programs, and semiconductor labs. There are myths, too, around the Post-it note. Some people believe Silver received no recognition, that his discovery was stolen or buried. The truth is more complex and more human. Silver was awarded the honor of being named one of the inventors on the original patent alongside Art Fry, and 3M promoted him to corporate scientist, a prestigious research role. But for years, interviews focused on Fry, the man who had the idea for the application, and Silver, the man who made the thing possible, remained in the quieter light of the background. It is a story science tells over and over. The person who discovers a thing and the person who deploys it rarely receive equal credit. There are also questions that remain genuinely unanswered. Could someone else have made the same discovery? The physics of pressure-sensitive adhesives had been theoretically understood for decades. Several other companies were exploring similar compounds in the late 1960s. Some researchers believe it was only a matter of time before the repositionable note arrived, that Silver merely arrived at the destination first from an unexpected direction. And then there's the deeper mystery. What else are we missing? How many failed experiments sit in corporate archives right now, misunderstood and undiscovered? How many Spencer Silvers are giving seminars in conference rooms to people who are not yet ready to hear them? Spencer Silver died in May 2021. He was 80 years old. The tributes described him as humble, curious, and deeply satisfied with the strange arc of his life's most consequential work. He had tried to make something strong and made something gentle instead. And that gentle thing, that low-tack, repositionable, never-quite bonding adhesive, turned out to be precisely what the world needed.
Today, approximately 50 billion Post-it notes are used every year. They appear on the desks of presidents and poets, surgeons and school children. They carry love notes and last words and grocery lists and reminders to breathe. They are peeled away and thrown out and forgotten. And yet, somehow, collectively, they hold the texture of modern thought together. A mistake that stuck, not because it was strong, but because it knew exactly when to let go.
Every mistake has a story, and some change the world. Subscribe to Beautiful Mistake for the next discovery.